Hello. Let me just make sure that this is all working just fine. Hang on, people. Just trying to see if this works. Yeah. Okay. That'll have to do. It's a bit dodgy, I'm afraid. It's a bit behind. I don't know why it's behind, but we'll have to just go with the flow. I'm afraid it's a little bit behind, but we just wanted to get this one in this format to this week. It'll probably go back to how I do it usually with just a screen record, but I kind of wanted to see a webcam this week. Doesn't seem to be working, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Hopefully it's not too glitchy on your side, and we can do this video fairly, normally. So yeah, this is my game week preview basically for game week 8. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically maximize this, not so it's out of control, but it's covering that main part of the screen. So just bear with me whilst I do that. But then we'll kind of control the team on this one. So yeah, here we go. Game week 8 time, people. Game week 7 was a much needed green arrow. We really were having a bit of a torrid time of it, to be fair. But we did get the green arrow, and we're on a rank of 532,890. So, small steps, baby steps, but we'll get there, and we're happy with the fixtures. I think the wildcard team was the right decision, especially you're looking at this week, the amount of injuries. It would be a massive headache if I was on a wildcard, so I'm kind of relieved, really. You kind of think, is there a fake injury or is it a legitimate injury? And having to always guess which injury is valid, which injury won't affect your team, and actually, choosing the best options that are not injured, if that makes sense. Because actually a lot of good FPL options this week are picking up knocks and are doubts for the weekend. So it does leave a lot of FPL managers in a bit of worry. But I'm happy with my team. I think it's a solid foundation, and actually some of the players that might miss out should be alright, I'm hoping. But we'll see. It is a bit of an injury panic, as usual, after an international break. And it's a bit annoying, because there's not that long of a gap between the next international break. That happens after game week 11. So, yeah, we kind of have to have short-term little blocks of 4 weeks. And short-term, we need to getting those big points and hopefully keep climbing the overall ranks. 444 overall points, which I'm pretty happy with. And like I said, 45 points last week. Solid stuff, but we need to be getting back to the heights of game week 1 and 2 where we were getting, high 60s, 70s. Let's get into it then. Ramsdale to start us off. Now, of course, we had him on our wildcard last week. That was an inspired move. He was really impressive against Brighton. Clean sheet, made some great saves. We really liked the look of him in that North London derby, and we didn't have him back then, but we wanted a set and forget goalie for the next few couple of weeks. And Arsenal have defensively improved, turn a corner. They've got a really nice run of fixtures, and I just backed Ramsdale to carry it on against Crystal Palace. Alright, they've been a decent side this season, but they're not going to be a team bursting full of goals. Edouard's still finding his feet. Elise obviously didn't start the last game, but he looked decent. But I just think Arsenal defensively have gained more confidence. Ramsdale the same, and that's kind of coincided with Arsenal's upturn in form. And I think the only major threat to Ramsdale's clean sheet would be, of course, Wilfried Zaha, who often has a good record against Arsenal. Nearly signed for them at one point. And Gallagher as well, he's a bit on form. But I just don't think they're massive threats to Ramsdale's clean sheet, because they're not massive out-and-out strikers. They're not known always for their goals. And they can actually be a bit more helping out the team and the rest of the pitch. So I think Ramsdale's got a chance here. I'm hoping he will get me points. I'm looking at that Monday fixture. Let's just hope Arsenal can carry on their defensive solidity. And he has been getting save points as well with Ramsdale. So, yeah, fingers crossed for that one. But I'm feeling pretty safe with him in goal. Let's move on to our defence then, shall we? Going into this game week 8 round of fixtures. And that is a pretty solid midfield. Defensive quadruple. I like that defence. Now, I know exactly what you're going to be thinking. 2 out of your 4 players are flagged, but don't worry about it, because the back 4 like we had that from last game. We had Trent sitting on the bench, ready if he was back fit for Watford. And I know you're thinking, don't do this against your own club. You've got to back Watford. But Ranieri's come in. Look, I'm excited. I think he's a very experienced man, what we need right now. But this is going to take a few games to get into the swing of the Ranieri system. And Liverpool, there's no doubting, are one of the best teams, if not the favourites to go for the title. They've been scoring goals, the highest goal scorers in the league so far. Away from home, they've been excellent. And they've been converting chances. They haven't been as efficient as they might have been. They've been a few wasteful opportunities, but ultimately they are very, very good. And as they saw against Man City, they can score goals whenever they like. They can turn on the style. And Mohamed Salah is such a threat against Watford. We'll go on to talk about him, but Trent Alexander-Arnold, there's no way that I'm going to not start in this game, because on set pieces, unfortunately, Watford very bad at defending them, and he's going to be whipping in those free kicks and indirect free kicks and direct free kicks, but also corners as well. And there was a bit of a worry that he wouldn't be fit to play, but the first game of the game week, he's going to be very much looking for the clean sheet. I'm hoping Watford can take that away from him, of course, but we haven't been that confident in terms of scoring goals recently, apart from Ismaila Sarr, who we all know did absolutely roast Trent Alexander-Arnold in the last game, along with Van Dijk. But obviously that was a different game, that was a different season, just before lockdown. Since then we've changed a lot, we've gone through a whole promotion and relegation, so I don't know. I think Trent is certainly an asset to look for all season, but this is especially a good fixture. He should be alright to play, I would imagine. He's been looks in training, and it looks like he's going to link up with that Liverpool team once again. So those people that sold him early, they might regret it, and might be looking very, very nervously at what Trent does in this game. Cancelo, you can see there, the second defender I'm going to talk about. He's my vice-captain, and you're going to say, what? Don't ever captain a defender. And I've been down there, don't worry. Last game week, I think it was game week 27 or game week 28, it was a dreadful decision. We captained Diaz in the double game week against Southampton and Man United, thinking, oh yeah, Man City the best defence in the league, and United game probably be a tight one. Southampton can't score. And of course, he gets no clean sheet in both the games, does no attacking potential, and Diaz lets me down with like 2 points, I think it was, on the captaincy. 4 points when doubled. It was just awful. So, yeah, we're not going to go back there, but we're getting close to it with a vice-captaincy, because I think Cancelo is just so much more attacking than Diaz, and, he's just as nailed on, in my opinion. Man City's fixtures now, after that Liverpool game, take a really nice turn. Cancelo was unlucky against Liverpool, looked good in the first half, and Liverpool away is always a tough fixture, but I just thought there'd be attacking threat there, but he can make up for it with some attacking points here, hopefully. And, Man City, they're going to be confident. They always beat Burnley 5-0. Burnley haven't been scoring goals, and actually Cancelo is just such a threat. So he looks like a really good option, maybe a captaincy if people are bold. But I just think he's got so much attacking threat, and yeah, it was a good long-term really transfer we brought in last game week. Now Rudiger, he is one that I'm a bit worried about, because we do think he might be a doubt for the Brentford game with a back injury. Didn't play in the match against North Macedonia for Germany, but would they have even played him in such a low-risk game? They were pretty much already qualified in the World Cup, and, Germany, they've got a good defensive setup anyway, so it's not like they haven't got depth there. Rudiger obviously has been key for Chelsea, started pretty much every single game, and that is a problem, because obviously he's the most nailed Chelsea asset. Now he might not play, but I think he will. I think he can shrug off this injury, hopefully, a bit like Trent. And if he does play, then there's my Chelsea double up for this week. And you can argue Brentford is not the best of fixtures as it might have been looking at the start of the season, but actually Chelsea defence, you can bank on it. And if it doesn't work, then you can say, at least I tried it. At least I backed the good defence. And he's got a bit of goal threat, Rudiger, but obviously he's only got the one goal he scored against Tottenham. I didn't own him then, unfortunately. But I think he can do something if he starts, maybe a set-piece goal. But I just want the 6 points, really. Trent is very good for his attacking potential, as is Cancelo. But on that left-hand side there, we've got another good fullback crossing in the ball. It's Azpilicueta, and he did the bits for us last game week. I was really happy with that move. A lot of people getting him in now, that he did that really impressive Southampton double assist. But we got him in for that Southampton game, and it's just great to see him, with the attacking threat. James obviously has been back sooner maybe than I would have guessed, so that's not ideal, but I think he will still play with possibly Rudiger out. Thiago Silva could miss out because of Brazil coming back late from their game. They're playing on the Thursday or the Friday, I think. So that's going to be a difficult one for him to play, but then you could still see Christensen or Chalobah slot into the defence, which means maybe Azpilicueta plays more centrally as a centre-back, but you can still see Azpilicueta probably play either way. And yeah, as I mentioned, good attacking threat. Brentford, they have been scoring goals, but I'm hoping the Chelsea double up defensively does pay off. Let's move on to that midfield then, shall we? So up to this point, you can see no transfers made. Let's look at the midfield though, because this is where we were going to get into things. And here we've got a free in midfield. And yes, there you can see a Watford shirt. It is Ismaila Sarr versus Liverpool. Now, I'm just going to say he was amazing in that one-off game, 3-0 in 2019-20. But that was one moment. That was one moment in time when Watford fans, their hearts stopped. They were absolutely loving life. The world was a dream. Liverpool 44-game unbeaten run ended. And of course, that was a game I missed because of a weekend away. And yeah, it was just absolute delirium for us Watford fans. But we're looking at safety this season. We're looking at trying to score goals in the games that are more winnable. And I'm afraid this is not one of those winnable matches. So we'll discuss Ismaila Sarr and what to do with him. But it is a big conundrum. He's been fairly consistent. He's been blanking a few game weeks. But then 15-point haul against Norwich, goal against Newcastle. He's been in form. So he's still going to be confident. And he's our realistically best chance of getting on the score sheet versus the Reds on Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. So yeah, I fancy him against the pace of someone like Tsimikas if he starts over Robertson. And certainly he's already destroyed Van Dijk in the past. But it is a difficult one to see where his points will come in the next few weeks. My consideration was, and I've seen a lot of people talk about this, hold him until after that Southampton fixture, because Everton and Southampton, they're more decent fixtures that you can maybe see in getting 1 or 2 returns. But I'm thinking, what do we want to do long term? We want to get someone in. So I might have to get Sarr out. It does feel disloyal, of course, as a Watford fan, but I just think it'll take time for Ranieri's philosophy to adapt. And we don't know if we're going to play to Sarr's strengths. And actually, if Trent is going to be in there, he probably gets a clean sheet. We've not been that good going forward, especially not scored enough goals in the final third. So yeah, I just think maybe that's one to think about. Ismaila Sarr, still decent though. Salah captain. It's just simple, really. I wouldn't go with it most of the time because I don't like to back against my own team. But then there's a bit of assurance, actually, by doing that, because then you think, oh, yeah, you'll be really happy if he hauls, but then also really happy if he doesn't because your team's kept him out. So I think Salah, he will break the Gandhi curse. I think, you never say back the early fixture, but I think this is the week it will all change because Salah is on fiery form. He's been absolutely brilliant. One of the best players in the world on form right now, and he just looks so confident. Past 100 Liverpool goals, always scores versus Watford, and after 2 fit centre-backs is all we've got. Cathcart and William Troost-Ekong, who are not the paciest of players, and Salah, he's just a wing wizard, really. So I'm worried for this defensively for Watford. I think Salah's going to be hard to keep out. If we can, then we'll probably do a defensive masterclass with Ranieri getting the pizzas. No, I'm joking. The dinners, he said. If we can keep a clean sheet in this one, that would be amazing. So yeah, I'm really, really worried. But Salah's so good for that reason. He's on penalties. He's on set pieces sometimes. Raphinha, let's move on to him because he's the one that a lot of people are worried about. At the end of the day, you've got to look at it as what are you going to lose by starting Raphinha? Not a lot, especially if you've got good bench depth. And look, Southampton, right, they are defensively up and down, but you'd back Leeds in that game to score more goals than Southampton would. I know that they've not been doing that well this season, Leeds, but it's always going to be a high-scoring game with Leeds. Apart from last week, obviously, we were just awful when Leeds dominated, but they couldn't take their chances. But most weeks we'd see Leeds score more goals. So you'd probably back, if it was a general fixture with everyone fit, Leeds to get loads of goals in there and no clean sheet for Southampton. So that's why I've got to back Raphinha. On the odd chance he does play. We know, of course, with Brazil's players, they're playing late. That's going to cause a problem. And some players are definitely going to be ruled out. Your likes of Alisson, for Liverpool, so Kelleher probably is going to start, and that does mean, of course, SAR is maybe a better option, but you've got to think long term as well with Ismaila SAR. The fixtures are awful, but with Raphinha, you're looking long term and you're thinking the fixtures are fantastic. So it's one that I don't really want to sell, but if he's out for this game week, it's not the end of the world. Let's move on to then the front three that I've got at my disposal. And this is a very interesting debate. Who do we start in this attack? Because we've got a bit of Ivan Toney against Chelsea. And you might think, why? You've got so many better fixtures to play in. But actually, he's a set and forget option. He can do anything in the tough fixtures. He was unlucky against West Ham. Had that chance that Fabianski saved well. And actually, you see that defence there. If Rudiger doesn't play, then the best chance of a Brentford goal is probably through Ivan Toney. So he's on penalties. He's got attacking threat. And he's, just a really good option this season. So I'm hoping that could be, a way of covering both elements, really. I know it's bold because Chelsea are one of the best defences, but I still think Toney can do it against anyone. He got the assist against Liverpool. He's just on good form, and he's playing at the top of his game right now. And obviously the fixtures turn for Brentford after game week 8, but I'm looking at that game week fixture and I think, why bench him? Because, he can score points regularly, and Chelsea, if they have got Rudiger out injured, that might cause them some defensive inconsistencies. Now, Lukaku's another Chelsea man with a yellow flag, and it's not ideal at all, but we know that he's still a very good asset for the upcoming fixtures. So we're going to hold on him. We think he might be a bit like Rudiger, just about past fit to play. A slight injury with the groin there, and I think it was a muscle fatigue or something after the first Belgian match. They rested him for a third place cup match or a World Cup qualifier, Nations League I think it was actually. So it's not that important that they would have rushed him in anyway. But I still think he's going to get some points. He's surely got a return eventually. He's been unlucky in the last few games. I think he's had an offside goal ruled out. He hit the post, I think, with the Southampton game. You just want to see a few more from him for the justifying of his price. But he's still a great asset, and I think that is a one to think about. If he is fit, it's a tough one maybe between him and Salah, but I think Salah's just showing more form right now. But still a great fixture against a promoted team. You would back the beast Lukaku to do well if he's fit. Now Antonio against Everton, I'm still going to stay strong on Antonio because he's just such a good in-form striker right now, and West Ham are just playing quite well at the minute. So I don't see a lot wrong with that. Everton obviously will go into that trying to prove a point. It's a bit of a big game, that one. Two teams, trying to establish themselves in the top half of the table, in the top 8 maybe. But Everton obviously are doing quite well this season. Defensively though, West Ham can get at them, and I think Antonio is going to be your man for that. So that's hopefully some points on Sunday. But let's move on to my bench, and then we'll talk about my one transfer this week. I'm revealing it now. No hits taken. Let's not make what is already an awful week due to injuries even worse by taking a hit. So, my bench, we've got, first of all, Benny Boy Foster, the cycling GK. We're not starting him against Liverpool, as you would imagine. I think he will play ahead of Backman, but, we're backing that clean sheet for Aaron Ramsdale. Then Livramento first sub. This is a difficult decision because we know that with what Rudiger could happen and Raphinha, it kind of works out logically. Do you want to back the player that's going to get the clean sheet, or do you think that Leeds will score? If Raphinha plays, then obviously that means Livramento won't come on, but you could think Rudiger might come off and then Livramento comes on regardless. So you kind of don't want Raphinha and Livramento to come in because you want one of them to kind of return with either a clean sheet or a goal for Livramento and Raphinha respectively. So I'm thinking if Raphinha does miss out, then he can come straight back out and Livramento can go in, and I think hopefully Rudiger should play. But if not, we've got BENRAHMA on the bench, and it seems weird to put BENRAHMA there, but I just think he's not been delivering recently, and although he's good for long term, he's got good link up with Antonio. Europa League might be a factor, and as I mentioned, I think Antonio is your man really. I'm not sure about BENRAHMA's attacking numbers. They've gone down recently, so let's see if that's a bit of a silly option, but I think that's just the best order I can go for on the bench. So yeah, Livramento first sub. If Raphinha isn't there, he can hopefully get some attacking contributions again or a clean sheet. And then BENRAHMA, yeah, I'm just hoping he's not going to get a return. But Douglas Luiz as well, he's probably going to miss the game as well for Brazil. He probably isn't an asset I would ever think of starting. He's had a good season, and for a 4.5 he's all right, but he's just going to be third on bench. It's as simple as that. So let's turn our attention to a little bit of transfers, and then we'll confirm the final captaincy choice. So, what are we doing in terms of transfers, people? Here it is. It's locked in. We are going for Bukayo Saka. That's right. Now, I could easily get rid of BENRAHMA, who's not been on form. SARR, you'd argue, maybe a little bit better form, but you got to look at fixtures as well, and I think BENRAHMA can get back to that form in the next few. SARR, though, I worry how we're going to utilise him best in these tough fixtures, and I think there's better midfield options out there with better fixtures. SAKA is one of them. He's got great underlying stats, looking like a much better player now after his delayed start to the season. He just looks like more influential. I thought about Smith Rowe, but I think Saka's more of a threat in that team, and I just think for the price, it's a nice easy switch, only a few million in the bank, 0.2 to be precise, and I can make the move from SARR to Bukayo Saka. So, we are going to be locking it in right now. We're not going to play the free hit, that would be foolish. Confirm the transfer, my boy. Can you do it, please? It says confirm, but it's not confirming it. This is not ideal. Let's just not have this. Come on now. Right, it's glitched out. It might have done the transfer. It still says SARR though. That's a worry. Okay. What can we do about that? Oh, there he is. Out of the blue, he appears. Like that. It's magic. Bukayo Saka. Hopefully, he'll be magical for me in game week number 8. There we have it though, there, people. My transfer for game week number 7. Oh, 8, I'm sorry. Going back in time there. But yeah, that's my team selection. I'm pretty happy with that lineup. I think I'm going to stick with Salah though. He's got to be done because it's the FPL king. If you captain him every week, he'll probably get most returns. And Josh King, talking of which, could be fit to play. But anyway, the point is, Salah is the FPL king. Just go with him. Don't overcomplicate it. I know it's the early kickoff thing, but most chances out of 10, he'll have a good game week. It won't rot your game week for the rest of the weekend, I wouldn't imagine. Look, I'm worried about Salah. I am, from a Watford point of view. So, let's see. It's always good to see the best players up close in the flesh. But Watford, obviously, let's hope for an impact. Let's hope for an upset. I'm backing, though, that team for game week number 8. But thanks for watching my FPL preview for game week number 8. And just briefly touching on Bukayo Saka, I'm bringing him in for the fixtures, which are much better than Ismaila Sarr. And actually, it's funny because we see that Saka does face Watford fairly soon. And with that, I think you'd back Saka over Sarr. Although I'm optimistic Watford fan, you just would. Okay, so these are really promising for Arsenal. Villa, nice fixture there. I think he could do something. And Leicester, Watford, Newcastle, solid run of games. And Saka is feeling more confident again. I know they blanked game week 7 against Brighton, but I think that was just a one-off blip. I think Brighton dominated that game. Arsenal really got away with a 0-0 draw, but they'll bounce back. They're usually strong at home, and they've got 2 home fixtures in a row to really get those goals. So, yeah, I'm backing it. Bukayo Saka, mate. Against Palace, obviously, defensively, they've not been that bad. Guaita's made a lot of saves, but I still think, Arsenal can get at Patrick Vieira's Palace, and they'd fancy themselves at home, and with an improved string of results that they're putting together. Smith Rowe and Saka, good partnership. I just hope Saka outscores ESR. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye.